Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is your boy, Thunderdrake Studios, coming at you with another spicy deck profile. Today I have a very awesome deck that got incredibly strong post-Dual Overload and is getting even more support in Eternity Code. I played this at the Regionals about 2 months ago in Columbus. We have Traptrix. This deck, if you don't know what it is basically a control deck that utilizes a lot of level 4 monsters and a busted Link 1 to help out-resource the opponent, get rid of all of their cards, and then punch for game over the course of several turns, or OTK going second if you open a given combo. The deck is very, very reliant on going first, but I have a couple cards that let me go second, and I'll show you as soon as we get into the profile. So I'm going to waste no time and get right into the monsters. First thing we got, 3 Myrmilio. If you don't know what this thing does, on normal summon, it searches for a whole normal trap card. It has to be a normal card, so Chaos Trap Hole does not work as a target. And on special summon is just an MST on legs, helps you deal with some of the back row, because if we're playing trap holes, we're good at dealing with monsters, but her effect is handy for dealing with that pesky back row. Next, 3 Mantis. The deck has the advantage of having multiple Stratoses, because this on normal summon searches for a Traptrix monster, so you get 6 copies of Myrmilio. And on special summon, it doesn't actually do anything, but as a quick effect, you can target a set card you control, bounce it back to your hand, and then optional to set a card from your hand. This is very nice because it plays around Twin Twister and also lets you activate your busted Link 1 going first. Next, the last 3 of is 3 Dionea. She is the recursion of the deck, and she is the name of the game for how you out-resource your opponent in the later game states. On normal summon, she targets a Traptrix monster in the grave to special summon it in defense position. And on special summon, she targets a trap hole to reset it, but then banish it during the end phase of your next turn. And it's important that it says that instead of your next end phase, because if you activate that effect during your turn, it's not banished during that first end phase, but rather your opponent has to worry about it over the course of their next turn. Last monsters, we have 2 of the new one. I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm going to say Genelisa. She is, all the Traptrix monsters have the effect, by the way, that they're unaffected by whole normal traps, and then she has the effect where you contribute her to set a whole normal trap from your deck and from your grave, but they have to have different names. They are banished when they leave the field. She's nice. Her effect doesn't come up a ton, but she's just another name because you have to make your Link 1. Her effect is okay. I mean, it comes up, but that's why you run 2 of her instead of 3s, because her effect is niche because it has to set from grave. It doesn't get a free hole from the deck like Myrmilio does. Last one, 1 Atrax. Her effect never comes up, but she is both the biggest Traptrix monster and also has the effect where you can activate whole normal traps from your hand, and normal trap cards activated on your side of the field cannot be negated. So Red Reboot becomes dead the moment that Atrax hits the board, and she's a beefy 1800 beat stick. However, because she doesn't actually get anything else from the deck or do anything else on special summon, you only run 1 because she's the worst one to draw. 12 Traptrix monsters, however, if we have to go second, we like having some disruption from our hands, so we have hand traps. 3 copies of Ash Blossom and Joy Spring. Enough said, just most generic hand trap, stops everything basically. Double Ghost Ogre, I'm liking this because next format looks to be a lot of like Dinosaur and Orchist. Granted, we don't have much of a format due to the trying times that we are in, but I digress. Ogre is nice because a lot of people are going to be messing with Striker as well, and multi-roll is a prime target for that. And overall, just a very good card. Last 2, Double Veiler. Eventually I want to replace this with Impermanence because you'll see why when we get to the Link monster, but Veiler just not once per turn. Incredibly good card. I almost wanted to play 3, but you don't have a ton of room for hand traps. Like 7 is already pushing it. I was playing 5 before, but Insta-Fusion got limited, so yeah. Overall, though, all these serve different roles, and they're very nice because if your opponent isn't really able to set up when they have to go first, then going second becomes significantly easier. Spells, we're on just 2 Pot of Desires, 1 Upstart Goblin, and 1 Double or Nothing. This helps you OTK because all the deck is level 4s, and then these are just consistency cards. I didn't want to run 3 Desires because you really don't need to draw a ton, and Desires and Desires hurts a lot because you need a lot of your cards to be live. That's it for spells, only 4, and then the rest of the deck is just a load of traps. We play 4 targets for our Link monster, so 2 Floodgate Trap Hole. When a monster is summoned, just flip it face down your opponent, and it cannot get flipped back up. It is important because your opponent has to summon it, so you cannot normal summon your own thing, flip a Floodgate, and then trigger Link monster. But it's still very, very good, the strongest of the trap holes. The next strongest one is Time Space. Just when your opponent special summons a monster from hand or extra deck, monsters also, so it can hit more than one. You just spin all of them back to the deck, but you lose 1,000 for each monster spun. It's just a good card. Like, it's utility, you need more targets. I didn't want to run 3 of this, so like this is a nice secondary option. And then this card, Traptrix Traphole Nightmare. It's good for now, but I would not pick this up. I would wait for Gravehole and Eternity Code, because that card is very nice. But what this one does is just when your opponent activates a monster effect of a monster that they special summon this turn, negate and destroy. It's nice because you don't have much hard negation in this deck. You have a lot of removal, but you don't negate much, so you kind of need this. But again, Gravehole negates everything except for the field, and you're able to get things off the field pretty easy. So overall, if you can't get Gravehole, Nightmare isn't bad, but this card is probably the one flex spot in terms of holes. And then the rest of the deck is just a bunch of power normal traps. First one is Shade Brigandine. This card is nuts because there's a nifty little 2-card combo where you can open a Traptrix monster and Brigandine and end on your link 1, any rank 4 of choice, and a set hole from deck, usually Floodgate. This card is awesome. It summons a level 4, which is even better. That's how you get the rank 4 out, and it's just super good. You can activate Link Monster when you have to go first before opponent even gets a chance to play. Next, 3 Compulse. Best trap in the deck. Friends know me as the king of Compulse because I see this card all the time. And if you did the same, you would be slapping. This card is insane. Not once per turn. You can blank it just to fire off Link Monster and go +3 because your Link Monster is a Spellbook of Judgment on legs. And it's just overall just an insanely good card. Just spinning monsters back to the hand is just super nice because it slows your opponent down just enough to be able to give you more time to build up your resources. And super good. We have a great time against combo decks when we have to go first, but back row can be a little bit rough, so we main deck double Heavy Storm Duster. Just popping, just the 2-for-1 trade is super nice because you don't really need this against like more aggro decks. Like Infernoid is a bad matchup, but I digress. But decks like Infernoid, you don't need this. Decks like Dinosaur, you really don't need this. Getting rid of the Lost World is nice, but none of our stuff targets anyway, with the exception of Compulse, so it's fine. Overall, you just have to run 2 of this because back row can be a little rough. Guru in particular is a hairy matchup because they're basically all the holes are useless. Power card. No one plays around Torrential Tribute, so I would run 2 of this. Like, you could just be in a completely losing position, like your opponent be grinding out their resources, going super hard, and then all of a sudden, you just fire Torrential, get rid of everything, and then activate Link Monster's effect to just completely bury them and card advantage. Incredible card. It's only good when people aren't playing around it, though, so if people do start playing around it, I would probably cut this for something else, but for now, it's awesome. Another awesome card, 2 Lost Wind. It resets itself from grave, it negates a monster's effects, and it cuts attack in half. The only downside is the monster has to be special summoned, but what decks aren't special summoning right now? Draco died a long time ago. By the way, a spicy version of Draco will be coming out within probably the next week. Stay tuned for that, guys. But I digress. Lost Wind, insanely powerful card, and it's a normal trap. This is important when we get to the Link Monster. 40th card is Traptrix. It takes all these 2-ofs and makes them 3-ofs, and takes all these 3-ofs and makes them 4-ofs. The only downside is you can only activate 1 trap for the rest of the turn after it resolves, but you don't really care because if you're firing this, you're already in a great position because you're searching out any of these. That's it for the main deck. Perfect 40. You have some consistency issues already, so I wouldn't run much more than that. 41 is probably the max I would go if you wanted to play a second Atrax, just for the big beatstick bunguality. But honestly, 40 is all you really need in this deck, and what you should stick to. Extra deck. 3 copies of our Link Monster, Traptrix Sarah. This card has 3 different effects, if you don't know. The first one is that's unaffected by traps, so evenly matched is dead against this card. Just kidding, but you will see why it is in its second and third effects. So the second effect says that when a normal trap is activated, you can special summon a Traptrix monster from the deck with a different name than the cards you control. So if you control Myrmelio, you cannot special summon Myrmelio, but you can special summon everything else. And similar goes with the other names. And when another Traptrix monster's effect is activated, you can set a hole from your deck. That sounds like Spellbook of Judgment. So yeah, remember all those special summon effects that we talked about, where Dianea resets a hole, Myrmelio pops a spell or trap? Yeah, you can fire those during the opponent's turn, and then set a hole immediately after, courtesy of Sarah. She is a literal Spellbook of Judgment, incredibly powerful card. She is the reason you play this deck. nothing less than 3 of her should be ran. 1 Linkuriboh. I was running Insta-Fusion and I never took this out, but if you want to run Scapegoat, this is a nice card. Honestly, this should probably just be like a Nightmare or something, or Pentestag because you're trying Utopia double, which we're going to get to in a second. But yeah, Linkuriboh because it can come up if you have to normal summon a Veiler. Next, Mrs. Radiant. These things are all Earths, and getting your normally small 1600 beater into 2100 beater is always good. And she's very easy to make in this deck because you can swarm out fairly effectively with Sarah and make this by turn 3 or 4, and just overall just really make your monsters big and harder than ever to beat over. Phoenix. Phoenix is Phoenix. I mean, you just need it to get rid of some more spells or traps. I don't run Unicorn just because this deck can't swarm out for a Link 3 that fast. But overall, you really shouldn't need Unicorn because you have so much main deck removal for stuff anyway. And overall, Phoenix is just the best one. Last Link monster is Underclock. Just super nice because if it's pointing to a big old bungus that you summon off of your extra deck, you're able to just reduce the attack and just punch for a ton of damage because without the extra deck and without the power cards like Double or Nothing, this deck really struggles to close out games. That's it for Link monsters. Then we just have a bunch of Xyz monsters. We have Utopia Double, the mandatory Utopia with that, and we also have Utopia the Lightning. We had the space for this because if Utopia Double gets negated with like Effect Veiler or Ash Blossom, we can just overlay for Utopia the Lightning because this is a Utopia monster. This card is super nice. Obviously, this is the main OTK enabler, but if you have to punch for 5,000, I'm not complaining. Also, this outs Avermax, which this deck can have a very hard time getting rid of. Then the last 3, we just have Redoer, Dweller, and Rafflesia. Rafflesia is nice because, again, with Gravehole, our combo takes 5 summons. So that is important to keep in mind. But you can activate a trap from your deck if you forget what she does. Dweller, we already know, just no graveyard for the opponent and then just laugh in their face. Redoer is nice in this deck because we can make it with the trap doing our 2-card combo because, remember, it's Brigandine and another Traptrix monster. So basically the whole combo is you just normal summon your Traptrix monster, link for Sarah, activate Brigandine, special one from deck, regardless of whichever one you summon, fire its effect based on which one it is, set a hole from deck, and then overlay, using the Brigandine and the Traptrix you summoned for Redoer. He is insanely strong because, I mean, we all know how strong Dean Girsu's non-targeting Send is. So imagine the Send, but it spins to top of deck. No graveyard float effects, no nothing. He is insane. So if you've been paying attention, you'll notice that my extra deck is only at 13 cards. The last 2 cards are kind of like a flex spot. I don't know what else to put in. You could put in stuff like Tornado Dragon, you could put in stuff like Pentestag, you could put in stuff like, I don't know, the new Traptrix Rank 4 is coming out, which is coming in Eternity Code. Trying to get my hands on that, but we'll see what happens. But overall, this deck is a highly consistent beast that when it starts to turn on, good luck stopping because it will steamroll. That's about it. That's all I have for you guys. Yeah, I hope you're having a good time in quarantine. Just make today awesome. And that's it. Thunderdrake Studios signing out. Peace.